Please welcome Hilton Executive Vice President and President EMEA, Simon Vincent, in discussion with Skift Hospitality Editor Cameron Sperance.
Hey everyone, I'm Skift Hospitality reporter Cameron Sperance. Thanks for tuning in today from across Europe and around the world. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us, Simon.
No problem. Good to see you, Cameron.
Good to see you. Simon, before we begin, let's give the audience an overview of your more than impressive career. With more than 20 years in the travel industry, you are responsible for more than 500 hotels, I believe, in nearly 70 countries and territories.
That's right.
And along with being on Hilton's Global Executive Committee, you're also a member of the Governing Council for the International Tourism Partnership. So why don't we start there? I mean, given everything that's happening with the pandemic, how does that partnership with the government impact your work with Hilton and vice versa?
Well, look, our work with governments right the way across my region has been extremely close. Always has been close, but I think this pandemic has strengthened those ties. I chair the UK Tourism Council, for instance, but we also do a lot of work in Brussels with governmental authorities, and the links that we've forged with those authorities over a number of years have really paid dividends in the context of this particular crisis. As always with government, it's knowing who to talk to and who the decision makers are and who the key influencers are. And we've played a pretty active role in lobbying the governments, not only as they thought through their strategies and policies towards the shutdown of the various economies, but also as we turned our attention to opening up as well. We've done a lot of work with them on providing reassurance that hospitality should be at the forefront of the recovery, that hotels in particular are going to be safe places to stay, that we'll have the appropriate protocols in place to ensure that our customers feel safe and that that they can be confident that we'll act in a professional way.
Excellent. And I mean, diving a little bit further into government relations, I mean, especially in a place like Europe where it's not just one central government, you're dealing with roughly 40 different ones. So, I mean, how do you navigate that from a corporate direction just given all countries have different approaches?
Yeah, it's complicated. And I think the key is to have strong local management on the ground that are all individually wired into their own individual governments. As you have said, I've got 60 odd countries right the way across Europe. So we need strong representation in market. Clearly, we work with other advisory firms as well to supplement that. But we also take an active role in looking at the whole regulatory environment and indeed take a much broader role through various hospitality bodies to make sure that we've got a seat at the table and that we're influencing. Hospitality is such a big employer and such a big contributor to GDP in so many countries that it's only right and appropriate that we have that level of influence and that we have a voice at the table.
Certainly. Can you give us, I mean, diving into Hilton specifically, what is the state of the European portfolio at the moment? I mean, what's still closed? What's reopening? What's kind of your expected timeline to reopening?
Yeah, listen, our first hotels to close or to be temporarily suspended were in Italy in early March. I'm now pleased to say that by the end of July, pretty much all our portfolio across Europe will now be open. The UK, we're hoping 4th of July onwards with the news from the government last week. But in terms of continental Europe, we're pretty much open now, in Germany, in Austria, in France, in Spain, in Greece, and evolving, our ramp up over time. And as I say, by the end of July, we'll pretty much be open in continental Europe. And certainly in the UK, 4th of July onwards, we're looking to get going again.
Great. And obviously China's a little bit further ahead in the recovery timeline, given y'all's portfolio there. I mean, are there any takeaways from China that you're going to bring to how you kind of reopen in Europe?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, we've got some pretty sophisticated ramp up models in place, just looking at demand generation, looking at how that demand evolved over time. I think, we're certainly working on the assumption that we're going to see leisure travel bounce back first, I think then business transient, but I think it's going to take a while for big group and convention activity to come through. We're working through the demand modeling in relation to that. It's interesting, city hotels versus resort hotels. 200 bedroom hotels versus 1,000 bedroom hotels. So it's quite a complex web, but we're working our way through it, and making sure that we're matching our manning levels and the facilities that we've got open in a way that is both safe and secure for customers, but also in a way that is profitable for our owners.
Definitely. Now, I've seen some analysts and even leaders from competing brands say that China and the US might have a faster recovery timeline just given their strong domestic traveler base, and that Europe might lag a little bit due to its stronger reliance on long-haul travel. I mean, do you agree with that outlook, or do you see anything different?
Listen, I think what we're going to see, I believe, in the first instance, is a lot of inter-European travel. And we've already started to see that to an extent as the road borders have been opened. We have seen a lot of traffic coming through by road rather than by plane, and I do think we will see more intra-European travel for a period of time, and I think long haul will probably take a little bit longer in relation to that, both from an inbound and an outbound point of view. So yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. We're certainly seeing very strong, domestic demand for staycations and a lot of weekend traffic at the moment into a lot of our resorts. The key for us is actually, getting, we're clearly a 365, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day operation, and we need to make sure that, we've got business right the way through the week. At the moment, it does tend to be concentrated around the weekends, and because a lot of businesses haven't yet got back into full swing, we're not seeing the kind of traffic that we would ordinarily be seeing from the business transient or indeed the big group convention activity during midweek. And that's something that we're going to have to bear in mind and live with for a while.
And also, I mean, on that note, I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, drive to leisure travel is kind of the first to flicker back to life. What happens in the fall, though, when we aren't lucky to have kind of summer vacations to get back into hotels? I mean, is there sort of a strategy to get bookings during that time when people are likely back in school or maybe back in the office?
Yeah, look, I'm hoping that, certainly by the time that, the kids are back to school and, we're into the fall, I would like to think that we're back into some sort of normality in relation to the business cycle and in relation to working and therefore traveling. And, certainly we're very optimistic over the long term still about the demographics and the business activity that will need to be undertaken, and the travel that will need to go with that, and the hotel stays that will come with that as well. So, we're still pretty optimistic over the longer term, but I think it's going to be a long dig out. There's no question about that, and there's going to be some peaks and troughs, but broadly we're optimistic about the outlook.
Great. Getting into a little bit more of an operations side of things, given just how the pandemic wasn't, there were some hotspots, there were some areas that weren't hit as hard as others. I mean, is this a call for maybe more agility or giving more autonomy to the individual owner? I mean, I know you were mentioning earlier from like a government standpoint, it's good to have kind of someone at the local level, and just kind of curious if this is a call for even more power at the lower level than, say, headquarters.
Yeah, I think as always, it's a balance, really. I mean, the great strength of brands and organizations such as Hilton is the system, if you like. It is the commercial engine. It is the 104 million Hilton Honors members. It is the coordinated marketing campaigns. It is the strength of our brands, the strength of our centralized sales capabilities, our revenue management centers, etc., etc. But equally, it's also about the strength of our teams on the ground in the hotels and knowing the local markets. And I guess, I think in the short term, we are going to be, doing more of a street corner strategy, if you like, in terms of a lot of the markets. But I think as always, it's a balance. Our system, our network and the whole network effect of being affiliated to 6,100 brands in 120 countries, 106 million Hilton Honors members, etc. There's huge there's huge leverage to be gained from that. So it is a balance between the central system and the local expertise of the hotels on the ground.
Got it. I've written a lot about the Clean Stay program and how just kind of all the different heightened health and cleaning standards coming out of this. And I mean, are you getting any insight of, I know there's this expectation that not all of these protocols are going to stay as they are and that it's going to evolve as we get back to normal as much as we can. So, I mean, are there aspects of this program that you think are going to be permanent fixtures going forward for the company?
Quite possibly. I think it's too early to say, to be frank. I think, this is all about instilling confidence in customers to travel again and to stay again with us. And look, we've already had very sophisticated and enhanced hygiene standards. This just takes it to that next level in terms of really focusing on, high touch points, really emphasizing the extent to which we have integrated technology into the customer journey, whereby, you can choose your room, you can actually check in and unlock your room without visiting a physical check-in, all through the app on your iPhone. And so we are really emphasizing that to our customers in terms of the seamless check-in, check-out experience, if you like. And whilst you're there in stay, we're obviously looking at high touch points, be that the lift buttons or the TV remote controls, or aspects of the experience in your room, or indeed some of the F&B activities that we're doing, in relation to grab and go and other enhancements and innovations. And what's been interesting for me out of this whole thing is the innovation that comes out of a crisis such as this, born out of necessity in many respects. So I think some of those things will be with us over the longer term, certainly.
I have to ask as a follow-up, because I get this question every time I write a story about y'all's digital efforts, is if I'm able to select a room ahead of time, am I going to be able to upgrade myself to a suite ahead of time?
If it's available, we'll make sure you're able to do that, certainly, yeah.
I know a lot of readers will be happy to hear that. So on the lines of heightened health and safety and social distancing, I mean, from the luxury side of things, how do you preserve that level of distinction to each service level that you have and maybe avoid service level compression coming out of this?
Yeah, look, I think, it all is down to the team members and the overall experience and the facilities that are there within the luxury hotels. So again, same principles, but maybe executed in a slightly more refined and differentiated way within the luxury portfolio. And, I think, luxury customers are extremely discerning, and I think you've just got to cut your cloth accordingly and make sure that you're not, you're getting that balance between, essential hygiene and controls, but doing it in a way that is discreet and, not overly emphasized as part of the overall customer journey.
Great. As far as I know, growth opportunities may seem so far ahead of, given everything that's happening right now, but we are hearing a lot of talk about conversion activity here in the US. In Europe, I mean, are you anticipating more conversion deals in the short term or in the first couple of years coming out of this?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, our industry is notoriously cyclical, and conversion activity does tend to, consolidate around dips in the economic cycle, etc. And a lot of brands will be looking for the safety of a big system with all the benefits that go with that. So we're certainly seeing an uptick at the moment of interest in relation to that. But equally, all of our existing pipeline hotels are now back under construction, which is great. I mean, actually is sooner than I had anticipated. And, we are still signing new deals. So we're still broadly optimistic. There's been a slowdown, no question about it. But, we've been growing pretty fast over the course of, the last 10, 11 years. And, we're still ambitious to, to take our brands further and to continue to, build our network effect across the globe.
Something that was kind of interesting, I noticed, is in first quarter earnings calls, pretty much every company cited conversion activity as a growth strategy coming out of this. I mean, if a lot of your competitors are also talking about conversions, I mean, what would Hilton do to entice people to sign with one of your brands compared to another?
Well, we would convince them that we've got the best brands, and that's proven by our track record of RevPAR index versus our competitors. All our brands, certainly across Europe, Middle East and Africa in 2019 were gaining in market share terms, enjoyed significant RevPAR premiums over the competitive set. Yeah, we would be driving very much the performance advantage that comes from the Hilton system. It's something that we pride ourselves on. Our brands are also, extremely well recognized and respected by customers. They score very highly in most, customer surveys. I think I'm right in saying last year, 4 out of the 10 fastest growing brands in Europe were from the Hilton portfolio. I guess the proof is in the pudding. We have the largest pipeline of new hotels out there. So, we're pretty confident that, head to head with our competitors, we'll put up a good fight.
Good to hear. As far as the recovery, I mean, do you sit back and wait for sectors like business travel and convention bookings to flicker back to life to get that full recovery and maybe back to 2019 performance levels? Or can the company turn to new revenue streams to hopefully kind of accelerate the recovery without convention bookings, business transit, et cetera?
No, listen, absolutely the latter. We have to be on the front foot. We have to be proactive. We are about to launch a new product line, Event Ready, to convince people that, for large conferences and events, as and when we get the clearance with the numbers, et cetera, that people can be safe and secure in the Hilton environment. And we're doing a lot of work, with event bookers and indeed with direct with customers to make sure that we're ready to welcome them as and when they want to make event bookings. We've done a lot of focus groups with our big corporate customers. We're very clear about what their expectations are, what their travel patterns are likely to be, and we need to be on the front foot in relation to that. There are also other things that we can do to generate other income, as you have suggested, and we've seen a lot of that in the course of this crisis, whereby hotel kitchens have been doing takeaway activities. We've been providing meals for key workers, and we're actually providing overspill meeting room facilities for some companies, given their social distancing, that want to get back into their offices, don't necessarily have enough office space. So there's a lot of stuff for us to do, and you can always be proactive, and that's down to our sales team to get out there and get on the front foot and be proactive. We're certainly not going to sit back and wait for it to come in, that's for sure. We're going to be out there knocking on doors and making sure that we're on the front foot.
Good to hear. Now, real quick, so with Event Ready, does that mean you all could, in theory, host a convention or group business booking before a vaccine comes out?
Well, look, there are still restrictions in place for, maximum number of, people able to meet. So, a lot of that, again, comes down to regulations and, government policy in relation to that. And at the moment, it's too early to say, frankly. I think, how that's going to pan out. And, given the breadth of countries that we deal with across Europe in particular, each country is going to have different, they're going to come out of this recovery and have, infection rates and at different levels, and therefore, they're going to have regulations at different levels. So I think we just got to be fairly flexible in relation to that. But what we want to do is make sure that, when the restrictions are lifted and we can start hosting large conferences and events, that, we're able to do so and give the customers the confidence that they will have a safe and hygienic stay with us.
Great.
And one of the great things for us is that clearly we've been operating hotels, although we suspended a lot of normal business. We've been operating hotels through the pandemic for key workers, for quarantine facilities, and clearly we've learnt an awful lot in relation to that in terms of hygiene controls, social distancing, operational protocols, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where we've been on the front foot with governments lobbying to convince them that we're ready to open, that we can do so safely, and that we've got the protocols in place. And I think actually going through that experience, be that with key workers or be that as quarantine hotels, has really given us a huge insight into the new normal, so to speak, and the protocols that are required going forward.
You mentioned you're working with corporate clients on the rollout of this. So, I mean, are they receptive to this idea?
Sure. Oh, no, people still want to meet. There's no question about that. And I think there's a lot of talk, everybody's been doing Zoom calls and webinars and all that sort of stuff, people still want to meet. I mean, I think one of the things within our event ready is that we will be offering flexibility such that you can attend a conference physically or virtually. I mean, this conference today, is all virtually online, but I still think, there's huge demand there for people to meet and to, face to face, etc. So, we'll still see demand for that. I think it'll take time. That sector is going to take longer to come back, partly because of the restrictions that are in place, partly because of confidence levels of large gatherings of people meeting, under one roof, etc. But it'll come. We're confident about that.
Well, I want to finish today with a couple of questions, just kind of looking ahead. And, in a lot of markets, a hotel can be the landmark for the city and be really just kind of the point of civic cultural pride. And I mean, beyond the perimeter of a hotel, what role does a hotel have in kind of its surrounding community's recovery, and how, coming out of this, can the hotel industry still remain that kind of cultural beacon for the markets they operate in?
Oh, absolutely. And, we launched last year in our 100th year, the Hilton Effect Foundation. And, Conrad Hilton was, inspired to use hospitality to make the world a better place. And I know that sounds a little trite, but, we work very actively in local communities. As you say, many of our hotels are absolutely, the beacon of a particular city. I mean, there are some amazing stories out there of, how our team members have embraced community work and, contributed to wider society. That's something that I think we've all got a social responsibility to do. And it's very much part of Hilton's DNA and will continue to be there.
Great. And I mean, I guess kind of final thoughts on, hopefully, I think all of us in the travel industry, travel journalism, have fingers crossed that this time next year, hopefully we would have a vaccine beginning to come out. And I mean, on the other side of this recovery, how does Hilton look across Europe?
Listen, we were a great company before this crisis. We'll be a great company after this crisis. We've got extremely strong brands. We've got a very active pipeline of new hotels. I think it's a very compelling business model for our owners, and I think this sector and our business will go from strength to strength. I'm very, very confident about that.
Great. Well, Simon, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it and really enjoyed chatting with you.
Yep, great to see you, Cameron.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Take care.